Eagle Sandbar. When a long road stops being a road and turns into crunchy gravel with a strip of grass running down the middle, you start believing in spoken maps. This time the map was verbal: stick to the river, don't leave the bank, and look for a pine shaped like a bull elk's rack, the attendant at the last gas station told us. So we stuck to it. Nick drove the crossover carefully, like there was a glass of whiskey balanced on the hood. In the rearview mirror Eugene popped up now and then with his usual half-smile. "If that pine really looks like an elk," he said, "it'll stop us itself, hook us with its antlers." Max rode shotgun, elbow hanging out the window, and at his feet dozed Zarina, his watchful mastiff who could fall asleep like a Swiss clock, 3 minutes after wheels rolled. Jack, cap pushed back, was silently reading the land: prevailing wind, gullies where we could drop to the water, spots good for a camp. He rarely talked on the road, but when he did, it usually saved us a couple hours and a couple nerves. The river showed up out of nowhere. A strip of water lay below between stone shoulders, looking like cold steel but with bright flashes. Across it, above the crooked bluffs, eagles traced wide dark circles. We slowed down, one of those sights that makes you either go quiet or swear in a whisper so you don't scare the silence. "There we go," Nick said. "A place where phones can be forgotten." "And cigars remembered," Eugene added, glancing at Jack. Jack smirked. "Camp first. Then cigars. If the wind allows." We pitched camp on a flat sandbar. The sand was pale with flecks of mica and squeaked softly underfoot. The water nearby gleamed skittish and glass-clear. Max and Jack handled the tarpon fire ring, Nick set 2 spinning rods at the water's edge, and Eugene, hauling the provisions crate, called out. "Boys, we've got 2 modes, restrained hunger and happy top-off." "I vote the second." "Approved," Nick said. "But first, recon. We're here a while, yeah." He glanced at the sky where one of the eagles caught a rising current and slowly started climbing like someone invisible had palmed it upward. "Couple nights at least," Jack said. "Main thing is to pick a spot that's safe for us and quiet for nature." There was barely a signal, but there was a smell. The river smelled like cold. The woods like resin and wind. And something else, new, sharp, unpleasant, just on the edge of the nose. We didn't place it right away. We would, later, when everything kicked off. The first evening went by like it should, casting lines, shapeless talk about music and women, light jabs between Nick and Eugene over who was catching fish and who was catching inspiration. Max scratched Zarina's ear thoughtfully, she'd huff now and then, she had her own language and sense of humor. Jack, unhurried, set a couple of tip-ups and started studying the far bank where the brush whispered in dry grass. "Nests over there," he said. "See that exposed spur? The crown scuffed, branches braided like an old rope. Looks big." We all saw it, up near the rim of the cliff, a massive fork of green with thick dead sticks jammed in it. Down near the water, an eagle circled, stretching its neck like it was listening to us. 2 more drifted higher, lazy, aimless. "Good neighbors," Nick nodded. "Don't bother them, we'll get along fine." Turning a flask in his hand, Eugene smirked. "They won't bother us, Nick. The question is, who else comes out here?" That turned out to be the question. We woke the second night almost at the same time. Nick lifted his head first, Jack was already sitting up, eyes on the water. Max whispered "easy" to Zarina and she turned from a dog into shadow. Eugene propped himself on an elbow. "You hear that?" At first we heard the nothing. Then, a soft pop, like someone smacking the river with a flat palm. Another. And a third, this time clear, a shot, muffled, tamped into the emptiness like into an old pillow. The wind was wrong, no smell of powder drifted our way. But the echo ran along the rock, and one of the eagles roosting in the pine startled and took off heavy and loud. "Company," Jack said softly. "On a boat. At night?" Nick looked at the river. Fishing. Fishing, Eugene drawled. Aha. With a scattergun. Could be beavers. Max offered, not believing himself. We traded looks. Jack shrugged on his jacket and nodded. No noise. Let's see. We moved along the bank, staying in the dark. Zarina ranged a little ahead and off to the side, lifting her head to test the wind. Another shot. Now a high, needling screech tore at us, short, angry, desperate. Eagle. Damn, Nick breathed. They're shooting at them. Our legs picked the pace for us. Around the next bend the shore widened into a quiet bight with shallows. In the dark we made out two shapes, a low aluminum boat at the waterline and, up higher, a dark SUV nosed into the sand. Two in the boat. A third rummaging in the open hatch. The moon slipped out from cloud and we saw the long tube with mesh, a trap, and beside it plastic jugs. Poison, Eugene whispered. Set bait on carrion, wipe the fish, and finish off the birds. Either for feathers or, hell if I know. A chill ran down my back even though we all knew, people do this. Plenty do. But knowing by hearsay is one thing. Hearing an eagle cry above your head and seeing a flashlight skitter across the water, that's another. Jack's fist closed. No frontal heroics, he breathed. Proof first. Then leverage. Cameras are just phones and the action cam, Max murmured. Helmet mount. Plenty, Jack cut in. Nick, swing left and film. Eugene, plate number, faces. Max, take Zarina and arc right through the brush, cut their path to the trees. I'll sit center and watch the boat. Guys, Nick dipped his head, this isn't a game. If they've got guns. It's not a game, Jack said. Which is why, quiet and fast. We spread out. Grass whispered like paper. The moon ducked behind clouds and came back out, making us turn into ghosts then clots of shadow. I kept the boat in focus, one guy at the motor, the other tracking black patches on the water with a flashlight. Scumbag, Nick told himself almost soundlessly when a fish rolled belly white and slid back down. Inhale, exhale. His camera rolled, and he kept the frame catching hands, the jug, and the boat's floor where a spent shell skittered. By the SUV the third guy slammed the hatch and looked up toward the nest. He shouted something, gestured at the rim. The boatman answered, annoyed. They kept it low, but tone carried more than words, haste, irritation, greed, the hurry of people doing wrong. Then, like it couldn't stand it, an eagle peeled off a branch and dove for the cry. Wings cleaved the air. It wasn't going at the men, it was going to the water where the poisoned fish had bobbed up. And the flashlight jerked to meet it. Now, Jack said. I never saw him move. 1 second later the boat's light went dead, with a rock. The hush snapped. One man swore, the other lunged for the motor, the third at the shore yanked something metal from under his jacket. Back off, he barked, and there was more fear than anger in it. But the dark was already working for us. Hey, a voice rolled out of the black, Eugene's, slow, easy, almost funny. Fellas, this stretch is closed. Night fishing with extras earns you a year without dates and conversations through glass. Who's there? The man on shore's voice rang. Goodwill Inspection Service, Eugene said. And an attorney of honor. On camera, if needed. Walk away, boys, the boatman said, suddenly without edge. We're peaceful. A safety clicked. Zarina growled, but didn't move. Max held her with 2 fingers on the collar, knowing that was better than speeches. Peaceful is when your light doesn't flare on the water, Jack said, stepping out of the dark with his palms up. Muzzle down. Put it on the sand and step back. Now. The pause lasted exactly as long as it takes to hear your own pulse. Then the metal clunked to the sand with a dull thud. There you go, Jack said. Now ease off the boat. don't turn your backs to the river. They didn't move. Counting. Trying to guess how many of us there were. Right then Nick lit his lamp to full, an invisible beam bounced off the water and punched their eyes. Max took the other flank, pushing them by instinct toward the center of the beach. Eugene kept his phone at chest height, the little red record light blinking like a tiny distress signal, for them. "Guys," said the one on shore, voice rough, "don't play heroes. We just poison the river," Nick cut in. "And shoot at eagles. You know what that brings. And you know we've got," he didn't finish. Up above the nest, a pinprick of light winked, like a cigarette in the dark, and vanished. "Hell," Jack and Max hissed together. "They're not only three," Eugene kept his voice calm though his fingers were already on the satellite phone. "And they left something under the nest. A fuse? A timer? You hoping for sunrise with a smoking cliff?" The silence stretched like a hairline string. The boatman flicked his eyes at the guy on the beach. That one took a step back. "Down," Jack said. "All three, knees. Hands to your feet. Fast." They obeyed. One, by the SUV, paused a second over the spent shell, like he wanted to scuff it under. Jack noticed. "Leave it," he snapped. "We saw everything." Up top the glow almost died, then flared, caught dry moss, probably. Jack was already at the base of the tree. His outline stuck to the trunk, then began to climb like the tree itself was pulling him up. Nick unclenched his jaw. "Come on, brother," he told himself. Jack hit the nest quicker than we could take a full breath. A charred wad crackled on one side, smoke clawing at eyes. We saw him yank a canvas sack from his pack, flick the clasp, spread it wide, and blanket the flame, sealing it tight and starving it for air. The sack jerked like something alive, but didn't breathe. A minute later the fire stopped whispering. "Got it," Nick exhaled. Right then a figure peeled out of the shadow just below the nest, another one. He lunged at Jack, something flashed in his hand. Jack made it in time. A short, surgical strike to the wrist, the metal flicked away, clattering into the brush. The man tried to shove him, took a palm to the sternum, lost his footing and hung on a branch. Jack grabbed his collar, eased him from falling, and barked. "Easy. Breathe steady. We go down together. No stupid moves." No answer, probably the air punched out of him. Jack hauled him onto his feet, locked an arm behind his back, and started down. Halfway the eagle swept over them again, close, so close the white head feathers lashed the branches, and it felt like it was circling in their defense. "We've got a fourth," Eugene said into the phone, steady and clear. "Yeah, already coming down. It won't be pretty, but he's coming." When they hit the sand, 4 pairs of boots squeaked. Max picked up what had flashed by the nest, a cheap serrated back knife, junk, but dangerous like their whole operation. "Knees," Jack told the newcomer. "Hands on your head. Deep breath in, out." He did as told. Younger than the others, hood knocked up on his forehead, eyes empty, not a wolf, not even a fox, more like a jackal, scared and mean. "Why?" Jack asked. Silence. "Money," one of the ones on the sand muttered. "What else?" "Why were you even asking?" "I'm asking him," Jack said evenly. "Why climb to the nest now?" "Nothing." Eugene lifted a shoulder. "Memory card," he said suddenly. "Hear that?" He nodded toward a neat little square tucked under the willow, a small action camera curled up like a kitten. "They're not dumb. They film it so they can sell the hunt as a thumbs up if you believe raptors and wild rivers deserve protection, like, subscribe, and share. Bell turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story in this series. Disclaimer, this is a fictional narrative. No animals were harmed. We support legal, ethical hunting and conservation. Poaching is a crime.